Hi there, I'm John Mellor and I'm the publisher of Australia's leading motor industry newsletter, GoAutoNews. Now, those of you who work at the coalface of the wholesale and retail motor industry can often become so focused on the here and the now that it's very easy to become isolated from the trends taking place around us that can have a severe impact on our business. But technology has a way of catching the unwary off guard. For example, people who own news agencies, why would you have a news agency today? News agents are being bypassed by the electronic downloading of online newspapers. The Australian newspaper, for example, already has 40,000 paying subscribers for its online editions. That's 40,000 buyers who have left the news agency system behind. The makers of ink and paper and the printers who use them are about to discover that magazines with glorious picture galleries and beautifully produced videos and live interviews published on a glass tablet screen are going to erode one-dimensional publishing. It takes a week to send magazines by truck to newsagents around Australia. It takes a few seconds and a fraction of a cent to send it to readers on their tablets. Online electronic fitting rooms and virtual fashion houses are endangering department stores and strip shopping centres. iTunes is saving the music publishers and film producers financially, but it is killing video and music stores. Who would have thought that Blockbuster would go bankrupt? And does anyone make fax machines anymore? iPhones are already laying waste to the makers of digital cameras, which in their turn destroyed Kodak. Google has all but eliminated the phone directory, and Google Maps has made street directories redundant. Wikipedia has killed off the bound editions of the Encyclopaedia Britannica after 240 years. Employees are increasingly working at home, attending the office live by video links with their workmates scattered across the city, indeed across the country. This is already reducing the frequency of vehicle service demand and is starting to affect city real estate values as floor after floor becomes surplus to requirements. Google and Skype, their internet video business links, are already quietly eating into demand for air tickets, hotel rooms and business transport. But what of car dealerships? Is there a technology that can catch the unwary off guard? It may seem like early days yet, but 3D printing is suddenly emerging from the shadows. This has the potential to change the way dealers conduct their parts business. Given that parts are an important baseload profit centre of dealerships, I think it is worth telegraphing 3D printing, or as some call it, additive manufacturing, as something to watch for. Additive manufacturing is now being used to make to order individual car parts and car panels. It works just like a printer. A printer moves backwards and forwards across the paper, depositing a layer of ink or black resin which sticks to the paper. The difference with 3D printing is that the printer keeps adding layers just microns thick with each pass. By building a layer at a time, it can create the most complex interlinked shapes that are directed by scanning the part with computer-aided design software. 3D printing has been used for prototype modelling for a long time now, but developments in some very sophisticated resins means that parts can be made with a texture as soft as rubber or with alloy or titanium compounds. It is already being used commercially for replacing shattered bones in humans, for creating fitted hearing aids and dentures, and some companies are now making tools like wrenches because, amazingly, the technique means that the product is created complete without the need for assembly of its various components. There are gear sets that are created completely and ready to use. This is a jet turbine using 3D printed parts. General Electric says that there are more than 20,000 3D printed parts flying in military and commercial aircraft made by Boeing. The US TV star Jay Leno has a 3D printing machine he uses in his workshop to make hard-to-find spare parts for his car collection. His printer cost him $30,000. The same machine is now available a few years later for just $15,000, and the parts scanner costs about $2,500. You can buy a 3D printer for your home for about $2,000, and people are playing with these to make toys, model planes, and to replace broken household items like cups and plates. Where does that leave Tonka and Mattel? So why am I telling you this? You need to ask what would happen if the people who buy your parts can start to print their own parts for a capital outlay of about $15,000 plus materials. Would crash repairers no longer need to source panels from dealers? What about the parts you sell to the independent workshops? Could they make their own, as and when they are needed? Could you do the same thing? Could you make your own parts as required rather than store them in a warehouse? Could car makers avoid having to build out all-time spare parts at the end of a model run to keep in stock for up to 12 years, when many of those parts could be printed as required for all time? And what about the ownership of the copyright of the design of the parts? If a CAD scanner can create the file to make the part, how will anyone control what goes on behind closed doors? Who would have imagined that the car industry would face the same challenges as the music industry? Years ago, as publishers charging a cover price for a subscription fee, we were always vulnerable to people who would copy our work to avoid paying more fees. I always used to say to car companies who did this, imagine what would happen to your business if people could copy your cars on a copying machine. It never occurred to us for a minute that such a thing could ever happen, but in parts at least, maybe that time is closer than we think. I'm John Mellor for GoAutoNews.